Let's face it, none of us will ever experience what Case Keenum and Stephon Diggs experienced last Sunday when they pulled off what is widely known now as the Minnesota Miracle.
That is a ton of pressure, but how you handle pressure in your own life can go a long way in determining your success.
That's where Cindra Kamphoff comes in. She works with the Minnesota Vikings and is the author of Beyond Grit, 10 Powerful Practices to Gain the High Performance Edge. She is here to share how those lessons could help you too. Cindra, it's good to be with you. Okay, we need to start with the Minnesota Miracle. It's just so fun to watch. Anytime we see it, we just feel good all over again. But the question would be, how do you help athletes get to a point where the moment isn't too big and they can actually still execute?
You know, that's a good question. I think for something like that to happen, it's really about two mental practices. First, it's about being completely immersed in the present moment, and that's the only place that your peak performance can really happen, is in the present, not in the past or the future.
Oh, that's good.
And then number two, it's really about having a deep belief in yourself, in your team, and in the possibilities. And I think what that did is it gave us this amazing belief that anything is possible in our lives.
Even in the last possible seconds when it's feeling like it might not be possible.
Absolutely.
And I'm curious though, because you work with these teams, so we will routinely hear athletes say after games, and that one's an extreme situation, but they say, we never stop believing. And half the time I think, that's lip service. Come on, you were not believing, just like I was putting the chips and dip away. But how do you get them past that point where they actually believe they can still do it?
You know, I think it's really about a practice. And to me, you know, mindset is like riding a bike. It's not something you just learn and you forget. It's something that you really practice every day. And what the best do is they have command over their thoughts. And they're practicing these, you know, possibility thoughts every single day.
A lot of us feel, though, that there is pressure, whatever situation we're in. I mean, maybe we're just going to a family gathering. Maybe we're dealing with some sort of conflict. The pressure, the weight of the pressure feels crippling. So how do you get out from underneath that weight?
You know, I think we can all really experience pressure in the boardroom, in life, in sports. And, you know, to me, really pressure is all about your lens. And if you're seeing pressure as something you want to avoid, it's going to make you play small. But if you realize, you know, you have all the natural tools inside of your body to be able to handle it, and what the best do is they stay in the present moment to moment. And so they can use, you know, these tools like their breath, or they can use these tools like believing in the possibilities and staying in the present moment and focused on the process to really be at their best when it matters.
Plus, that one moment feels a lot less overwhelming than like when you're thinking about the whole thing. Like, if I don't do this, my whole life is gonna crumble. When it's just like, let's get through the next 60 seconds.
Now,
And that's something that's gonna limit you if you're thinking that. So you wanna work to empower yourself with your thoughts.
Let's crack open the book, so to speak. Again, it's called Beyond Grit, 10 Powerful Practices to Gain the High Performance Edge. Now, you were an athlete yourself, so I think that there's some natural crossover here, but let's talk about a couple of the specific practices here.
Perfect.
One of them, number 3 on the list, if you're taking notes at home, is master your thoughts. You say that the world's best at whatever are intentional with their self-talk, so convince us that this is not just woo-woo mumbo-jumbo.
Or Steve's morning affirmations.
I do love affirmations.
Well, I think it's really important to, you know, tell yourself things that you do believe. And I have an acronym called CAR. And I think about it this way, like, I want to be in the driver's seat of my car, my destiny, right, in my mind. And so, you know, we all experience thoughts that limit us. You know, that's part of being human. But what the best do is they catch it. That's the C. They notice the thought, and then they address it. That's the A. And so they can either, you know, let it move by like a car passing by, like, don't believe it, because you shouldn't believe everything you think. Or, you know, they talk back to it. Especially you want to do that in times of confidence. And then R is you want to get out of your mind. You know, I had an NFL athlete once tell me that, you know, your mind can be like a hamster wheel. You know, and so we want to get out of our mind and go do something. You know, think about the next action that we want to create. That's really going to help us move towards our goals.
Interesting. Okay, dominating the controllables is number 5 on the list. So what are the controllables and how do we dominate?
You know, this is my favorite because I use this word dominate. It's a strong word, but you know, you can think about like life, sport, business is really about things you can control and things you can't. And when we focus on things we can't control, it leads to frustration, blame, anger. But what the best do is they dominate what they can control, and that's their attitude, their preparation, and their effort, like their response. And so my theory in the NFL is that for every minute you focus on something you can't control is one less minute than you're in the league.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's
And then
important.
if you come off of a bad game, then that week you could be spending hours each day. So those minutes add up pretty quick.
Those minutes add up, and in business, it's, you know, if it's for every minute you focus on something you can't control, it's one less dollar that you're earning. So it's foundational to peak performance, and I think it's really difficult to practice. It's something I have to work to practice every day.
Now, as far as the practice goes, I think that's the
Yeah.
question. So what's sort of your prescription for us? I mean, is this like a 5-minute a day kind of a thing? What do we need to be dedicating to this kind of practice?
I think the most important thing is just to realize that your mind powers everything. It powers your emotions, it powers your actions. And you know, what I see is that the best do is they have a high self-awareness of their thoughts and their actions, and so they're just kind of noticing themselves. They're not judging it, and that's, I think, the first step in terms of reaching your potential is being aware of what's happening within you.
When we talk about self-awareness, self-awareness, I think it's the key to a lot of things. Cindra, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
and thanks
having
for
me.
whatever wonderful work you're doing behind the scenes, under the cloak with the Minnesota Vikings. Clearly, it's working.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you would like a link to Cindra's book, Beyond Grit, head to TwinCitiesLive.com, and when you're there, click on Fun.